Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Talk Podcast. I'm Matthew Tangeman. This is my very faithful co-host, Mr. Tyler Shewchuk,
Hello there.
and welcome to our very first podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a multitude of different subjects from film and television, just recent news, and just some of the recent stuff that's happened in the last few weeks. This is sort of a new format we're going with, in between us doing movie reviews and all that sort of stuff. And this is just sort of fill the time in between all the different content we have coming to the channel. So, first subject, we got to get this right out of the way first. Mulan just released today. And it is getting very, very mixed critical and audience reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It was bound to happen, being honest, with everything that's going on with all the Disney remakes.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where when I saw the divide between both critics and audiences, I was like, oh, so we're going like all Last Jedi on this. Okay. Um, like I had no idea this was gonna be so hated by the audiences. Like I kind of had an idea of what sort of reaction it was going to get in the sense of like how beloved the original is nowadays, especially for guys and girls who grew up in our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Like early 2000s, Mulan was like on Disney Channel all the freaking time.
It's actually my little brother's favorite Disney film.
Yeah. I mean, for me, my favorite Disney film, it's still Beauty and the Beast, the original.
Right.
Which for a while that was my favorite all-time animated film. My favorite all-time animated film is actually The Prince of Egypt. So
Well, when it comes to Disney, I guess you can call me Tarzan Boy because that's my favorite.
that's Gene's favorite, actually.
Huh, small world.
Yeah. Um, it's like I think the only universal thing that pretty much everyone dislikes about that movie is the soundtrack. Uh,
Tarzan?
like
I liked
like
it.
there's people who grew up like me and you who probably are like I'm indifferent about the soundtrack because I kind of like Phil Collins, although I will acknowledge that all of his music sounds exactly the same. Like almost every single song sounds the same. uh
And that's kind of fair, like at the same time kind of unfair. If you I've listened to his music a lot, like you compare it to his Tarzan music with something like Line of Confusion, there is a difference.
there's a difference and everything, but I think it's because Phil Collins he always has that voice. He kind of sounds up here.
True.
Yeah.
So, back to Mulan. I already knew that with all the changes they were going to make to the story, that the film's could be fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, and the thing is, I was kind of a proponent of saying that I actually was like all for Disney doing all these changes and everything to the film because I didn't want it to be the exact same story again.
Right. We don't want to repeat The Lion King.
Exactly. Um, with the Lion King, and even with the Lion King, it wasn't exactly shot for shot. I mean, it was mostly shot for shot, but they left out some of the most important bits um, for that story, including probably one of the best lessons that was in that movie. It's like yes, the past can hurt, but you can either run from it or learn from it. Yeah.
Yeah. With Mulan, though, you would expect them to take more influence from the original legend.
Yeah.
However, they just did a flip turn. It's like, oh, there's a witch now.
Yeah, which kind of was weird when I heard that there was like going to be a sorceress in the movie. But then again, I'm like, you know what? Chinese legends and all that sort of stuff. I've heard of weirder things.
Ah, speaking of Chinese, what is
No,
that? Thai?
Japanese sushi,
Oh, all aren't I culturally like ignorant?
of course. Um, but yeah, with with Mulan and everything, when I heard that, stuff like Mushu and all that sort of stuff wasn't going to be in the film, I mean, I was initially hesitant, but then I'm like, you know what? If they're going to move in such a bold direction, I'm all for it. Because I mean, there is definitely a small part of me that really would have liked to have heard the songs.
Right.
Because,
Like at least keep uh
like,
what's the name?
Reflections or something.
Reflection and Man of You. Just keep those two and it'll be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. It's like Reflection and Make a Man of You. And, like, those are, like, the two most iconic songs in the movie.
Right.
So it would have made sense to at least keep them in, or at least the musical ballads for them, because I believe Alan Menken. I think it was Alan Menken who did the soundtrack for the movie. I'm not sure if he returned to do the score for the movie. Hold on, I'm actually gonna look that up. Um,
So is he
the
back?
hmm?
So is he back for it or
uh, it wasn't Alan Menken who did the initial score for the film. It was Jerry Goldsmith.
oh, still pretty good?
So, like, one of the most iconic composers of all time. Did the original soundtrack and the score for the movie.
Hmm.
Uh, let's see. Yeah. Jerry Goldsmith, obviously, he's done stuff like the Rambo films, some of the Star Trek movies, including the first Star Trek movie. It's like in May 1997, with the release of The Lost World Jurassic Park, he gained more popularity with his fanfare of the 1997 Universal Studios opening logo. So he
Oh,
he composed the opening logo for Universal. Ba ba ba
wow.
ba ba ba
Dun
ba
dun
ba
dun
ba.
dun dun dun
Dun
dun.
dun. uh it's like, unfortunately, Jerry Goldsmith, he passed away back in like 2004. So
Well, at least he left one hell of a legacy.
yeah. um
Back to Mulan. The other thing is like the
yeah,
price
the
tag.
$30. Yeah.
Like it's like a Blu-ray costs less than that. A ticket
Uh,
to the film costs less than that.
Even with popcorn and all that sort of stuff, depending on the
Right.
theater.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it's pretty egregious. I know Disney's been losing a lot of money to the virus, but like if you lowered it, I feel like a lot of people will be less, "Arr," you know,
Yeah. Like, if it had been like $20,
it would have been reasonable.
it would have been a little bit more reasonable. Because some of the most recent releases from, like, movies that are coming out on VOD and everything, they're like $20.
Right.
So it's one of those things where, you look at that big Disney price tag of it, and it's just like, fuck.
Oh hell no, I'm renting Scoob again.
Pretty much, yeah. I haven't even seen that. Like, um, I
It,
heard very mixed things.
it's not very funny, but it's also freaking insane. Let's leave
Like,
it at that.
the main consensus of it is it's not a very good Scooby-Doo movie, but it's a pretty damn good Hanna-Barbera movie.
I feel like if it was more focused on the Hanna-Barbera aspect when it came to the marketing, then it would help.
Yeah.
No, and here we go getting off track again.
Yeah. Let's actually move on to the next subject, which is the very, very unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman. At the age of 43 years old, he unfortunately died from colon cancer after
Stage 4.
after a long 4-year battle with it. After he was diagnosed with stage 3 back in 2016, around the time when Civil War came out. So from the time that Civil War came out to the time of when he was filming Black Panther, Avengers Endgame, and Infinity War, and 21 Bridges, and then his final film, which is Defy Bloods, he was battling cancer privately. He never told anyone outside of his family. And I mean,
Uh,
this is just a hard hit, especially for us in the Marvel community.
not only that, but like for African American, you know, African American community because they looked up to him very highly. They praised him. Like he was
Yeah, he
an
was.
amazing up and coming star.
Yeah, it's like he was King T'Challa.
Right.
It's like and going back to like Black Panther and everything. I mean, that movie was a massive, massive hit beyond anyone that anyone could ever have seen. Especially for like many like years ago and everything. When it came out 2018, I think it was like February 2018 when it came out.
Yeah, it was
And
February.
yeah, it was like February 2018 and it blew up the box office. And
Like it dominated.
not only did it dominate the box office, but then it got like, if I remember correctly, it was like 8 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. And it won 3. It actually won 3 Academy Awards. It was Best Costume and Makeup Design. And I know one of them was for Best Original Score from Ludwig Göransson, who now does the score for The Mandalorian.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, like, the movie obviously was just this massive hit, and then you got Chadwick Boseman at the center of it, just this incredible actor who it's the legacy he has left behind is amazing because obviously he's King T'Challa and everything, but he was Jackie Brown, he is not Jackie Brown, what am I talking about, Jackie Robinson, excuse me. He was Jackie Robinson, he was James Brown, he was
Oh, we got those two mixed up.
yeah. I mixed the two because Chadwick played both of them, so
Right.
but I played James Brown, he played it's like he played some of these incredible roles, and it's kind of hard to still fathom it because he had so much that was still ahead of him.
Right. Like he was the next big star.
Yeah.
He had so much, a lot of potential. Like he still had a lot more going for him.
He had such huge amounts of charisma and everything, and I kind of likened him to almost like a young Denzel in a way. When he was starting out in acting, he was going to college for acting, and when he was going in, him and like 9 other students were chosen. I'm trying to remember the name of the actress and everything, but she was on the Cosby Show, and she chose 9 of these actors to have a specific donor pay for their way through college to get into acting. And that specific donor for Chadwick was Denzel Washington. And
in a way, that was kind of like a little bit of a legacy thing going on.
Yeah. And when he actually talked with Denzel about how he put him through college and everything, he said, "Oh, it's like yeah, I'm not here because of Black Panther and everything. No, I'm here because you owe me money." It's
Well,
like I'm here to collect.
Honest.
It's like obviously joking and everything like that,
right.
But it's like he even said in his AFI speech,
"There is no Black Panther without Denzel Washington."
It's kind of poetic in a way.
Yeah. Which, if you see that video, I think it was from like last year, and if you look at Chadwick Boseman and everything, like he is skinny. Like he is skinny as hell. And it's one of those things where a lot of people sort of theorize that it was for like a movie role and stuff like that. And yeah, kinda. He was pretty skinny in the movie Defy Bloods and everything, but you look at him and it's just like, okay, something's kind of up.
Right. Like, it's one of those things, and when you look back in hindsight, you realize the signs were there, and it's kind of a little more heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, and the way he passed, like, it was in his own home. It was surrounded by his own family. And if you ask me, that's the best way to go with surrounded by your loved ones.
Exactly. All right. So going on to our next subject, getting a little bit less sad. Let's talk about some of the most recent movie releases that have come out in the last week or so. We just had three sort of big name movies that have released in the last week or so. We got Christopher Nolan's Tenet.
I know nothing about it.
Like I know some about it. It's sort of a spy thriller, but it has, you know, Chris Nolan's own sort of manipulation of time and all that sort of stuff with it. Um, it's definitely an interesting movie in terms of concept. And from what people have said is that it is a total and utter mindfuck, but it's entertaining. It's definitely not one of Chris Nolan's better films, but it's still a Chris Nolan movie. So
I mean, Chris
go ahead.
Nolan is gonna be good,
It's going to be at least a good movie.
right?
For some, it might be a little boring because it is about 2.5 hours long. But you know, it's like you have these amazing visuals and a good 95% of the effects done in the movie are practical. It's like including if you look in the trailer, they have this one scene where they have a 747 crash into a hangar. They really crash a 747 into a hangar. Like they took a real Boeing 747 and crashed it into a hangar because
That
it
mu-
because it was cheaper to do it other than doing it in CGI.
like that's the thing with CGI in general. Like, you know that scene in Spider-Man Far From Home where Nick was talking to Peter in the hotel room? The
Yeah,
entire hotel room was green screen. That was not set. That was green screen.
that's amazing.
Like it's amazing, but it's also kind of expensive, counterintuitive. Like
It's like why couldn't they just build a set?
exactly.
It's like they have like God knows how many like different sets and everything that they're like surrounded by. You would have thought that they could have just, you know, built a small hotel room set or actually gone to a hotel.
Right.
Um,
It would have been
but
cheaper.
although at that same time, it probably worked better with the workflow that they were working with to just shoot it on green screen. So and they have Marvel has an insane workflow, and
Right.
they're able to get out these massive movies, and the visual effects for the most part for a lot of them look still fantastic.
Right.
um Obviously going back to sort of like Black Panther and everything, I mean, for the most part the visual effects in that movie look great, but going into like the last like third of the movie they start to get a little bit wonky.
Right. Especially when it came to the, armors.
When it came to the fight between specifically Killmonger and
Black Panther.
Black Panther in on the railway fight. That scene was given to the visual effects artists, and they pretty much had about 2 or 3 weeks to get it finished. Um,
Uh,
they
Now
they had
that's
about they had about 2 or 3 weeks to get that scene finished, which is impressive in the fact that they were able to get somewhat of a decent product out of it, but they needed far more time.
right. Like at
That's a
least like
they at least needed maybe about another couple of weeks to at least a month,
right.
because but you know you have to meet certain release dates and all that sort of stuff, plus you're going through multiple visual effects companies
Right. But like you look at that, then you look at Nolan and he crashes like a literal 747. Like
into a building. And
we're
it's amazing when you think of Nolan, because he's sort of like this weird independent art house director that somehow is making some of the biggest blockbusters in the world, and no one says shit to him. He's able to do whatever the hell he wants, and I respect the fuck out of that.
Okay, for my next film, I have to sing, but in order to complete it, we need a live Moab.
It's like, all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to drop this bomb from an airplane, and you guys are going to be running away, screaming, and hopefully you won't get vaporized. What?
Don't worry, just in case.
We do have a bulletproof vest.
I was gonna say we have hell of a good health insurance, but all right.
We do have a bulletproof vest. We do have earplugs, and we have good insurance, so you should be fine. um, but yeah, I respect the hell out of Chris Nolan. The fact that he's doing all these like gigantic films, and they use all these different practical effects and all that sort of stuff, and these massive large format cameras too. IMAX and 70 millimeter and all that sort of stuff. Like he's just like he's almost like a big kid, almost, that like is just recording like the stories that he's always wanted to make. And again, I respect the hell out of him because he's actually getting to make the stuff he wants to make, and with very, very, very little, if any, studio interference.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that also comes with a very, very steady working relationship he's had with Warner Brothers. I think that he's been working with Warner Brothers since like I think he's been working with Warner Brothers ever since he did
Prestige.
not the Prestige. It was before Batman Begins. I think it was this one movie on term. It was Insomnia, I think it was, with Al Pacino and Robin Williams and everything. Uh, it's like
Interesting on-screen combo there.
Robin Williams plays a serial killer in that movie.
Oh,
Yeah. It's actually a remake of a foreign film that came out like a couple years prior to it. I think it had Stellan Skarsgård in it, in Pacino's role.
I'm Norman Bates. Oh. I just can't imagine like Williams in that kind of role.
He's actually like fantastic in that movie, though.
I bet.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things you can't really picture until you actually see it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the movie is like 1 Hour Photo.
I heard of it.
Yeah, like that is literally Williams at like his most uncomfortable in terms of like his screen presence, and you look at him and you're just like fully thrown off. It's like, holy shit, what? No, stay away.
So, what's the next movie?
Okay, so going on from Tenet, we have The New Mutants. This 3-year delay from being announced to having a trailer to finally releasing.
It's like there's development hell.
Yeah,
There's this. This movie's been stuck in perpetual purgatory
for 3 years.
Like, and when it finally comes out, yeah,
People were very mixed on it. Like, critics were definitely bombing on it hard, but general audiences were actually pretty okay with it. Like they're kind of mixed, but they were like, it's better than Dark Phoenix.
I think it's better than Dark Phoenix.
Hmm?
It's funny how like after the new X-Men continuity started, all the X-Men movies have been kind of going a downhill slope.
But yeah, it's one of those things where, I look at, the X-Men films and everything, and I'm like, I like most of the X-Men movies. I think there's a good amount of them that, really do work. Like a good half of them pretty much work.
Logan, the Deadpool films, X2.
Yeah.
Days of
Future Past. I even like X-Men Apocalypse. I think that's actually a fairly decent X-Men movie. like like it has a lot of the great elements that make up a great X-Men movie, and a lot of the elements that really do work in that are the performances. I actually think Oscar Isaac really did well as Apocalypse. I thought he was actually really good. The main thing that drew a lot of people off from Apocalypse, I think, was the makeup, and that's because he, in certain lighting conditions, he kind of looked like Ivan Ooze. In fact, that's the main comparison people put with his makeup when the initial first image is released.
He looks like a combination between Ivan Ooze and Ronan the Accuser.
It kinda, yeah. It's just a bit more like intricate designs and everything on his face.
Right.
Yeah. I think probably the one thing about like the New Mutants coming out and everything, I still haven't seen it, but it definitely looks interesting, at least.
It's like it's kind of weird that last couple of Fox films, mainly New Mutants and Fantastic, have been focused a little bit more on body horror.
Yeah. I mean, with New Mutants, it definitely looks like it did it way better.
Right.
Like, but with Fantastic, I mean, that was just a disaster on arrival.
I feel like that was kind of shoved in.
All right, so next movie to talk about, Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Pretty much, from what I've seen from the advertising, they still haven't made that song that united mankind yet.
Yeah, they haven't. And it separates supposedly into two different plots. One where Bill and Ted are looking for are going into the future and everything and going through a few different things to try and find themselves to where they've already written the song, so that way they can basically steal it from themselves. So that way...
So this thing is kind of like a perpetual time loop kind of situation.
Kind of, sort of. And then Bill and Ted's kids, their daughters, are also on their own sort of time adventure where they're grabbing different historical figures and making a band. Specifically different musical historical figures. Like I think Mozart's in there or something like that.
Oh my! Imagine what kind of stuff Mozart would do, considering how immature he was.
I mean, that would be beautiful. Let's see. Like, it would definitely fit the humor of Bill and Ted definitely well.
Okay, like fun question: if you could make a band of famous historical musicians, modern and older, who would you pick?
Oh, that's a hard choice. Mozart's definitely gotta be in there, obviously. I think just for shits and giggles, Ozzy Osbourne. Sharon!
Crazy Train.
I'm the motherfucking Prince of Darkness. Oh my god, are those clownfish swimming around your booblers?
Like, okay, here's my idea. They're gonna clash, but that's the whole idea. Okay. Beethoven,
All right.
John Lennon,
Oh boy.
and Kurt Cobain.
Yes. Yes. All the yes. That is the most depressing. Like, specifically when you have Beethoven and Kurt Cobain on the same stage together, that would be the most depressing shit imaginable. Like, that would be the most depressing soundtrack you could ever get anywhere ever.
No.
It's because, like, obviously, Beethoven went blind, he went deaf and everything. What? He went deaf and all that sort of stuff, and then Cobain. I mean, we know about Cobain. But obviously, he was the lead singer of Nirvana and all that sort of stuff. Like, But speaking of Nirvana, moving on to some more recent movie news, the Batman trailer,
dude.
Yeah. Speaking of which, with that, perfect use of Nirvana. Like friggin' perfect use of Nirvana for that trailer. And I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Like I think that one of the best things about the trailer is Patterson, like how he pretty much
Pattinson, yeah.
like the glimpse we saw of him, it pretty much shut up all the naysayers, if not most of them.
It pretty much shut up most of the naysayers, if not all of them. And it's one of those things where specifically all of them were probably shut up by specifically
His
the one
beatdown.
Yeah, his beat down.
I'm vengeance.
Just how aggressive he was. That was like even Batfleck will be like, okay, he's down. Okay, dude. That's enough.
Stop. It's like just pull up the Simpsons clips.
He's already dead.
From some of the little glimpses that we've gotten of certain characters within there, obviously Jeffrey Wright is Jim Gordon. I think he's going to be fantastic. Of course, it's Jeffrey Wright. Although I would have loved to have seen Jeffrey Wright as Lucius Fox.
Oh, that would have been that's a huge missed opportunity right here.
He would have been a perfect Lucius Fox.
And like we have quite a few villains in this one, right?
We have 3 technically. Like two main sort of villains that are in this, and then one sort of side villain / hero / anti-hero sort of thing with Catwoman.
Actually, isn't kind of 4 because I believe Falcone's gonna be in this movie.
Yeah, Carmine Falcone, who's being played by John Turturro.
Right. So there's Catwoman, Penguin, and Riddler.
The Riddler, which I love the new look for the Riddler. Like it's very different. It's very different to what we've seen.
Right.
And this specific interpretation of the Joker is going to be very different from
Joker,
from interpretations that we've seen in the past. Like pretty much most interpretations we've had up until this point have been very similar to each other.
Right.
I mean, some have gone a little bit darker than most, but most of them have kept relatively the same, especially since the original 60s interpretation. They've gotten a little less silly in some aspects, but some of them have gone more silly via Jim Carrey. to quote Tommy Lee Jones on the set of that movie, "I hate you. I cannot sanction your buffoonery."
Did you really say that about Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Jim freaking Carrey.
He not only that, but when you look at Tommy Lee Jones in the movie, it's just like, really you're going to tell him that? Okay, crazy kook. Go ahead. Like, he's just absolutely bonkers in the movie. Like Two-Face, like he's just like gone. And Tommy Lee Jones, like he's just off his rocker and everything. But when you just remember that on set, he said to Jim Carrey, and I quote, and Jim Carrey has actually confirmed this, he said, "I hate you. I cannot sanction your buffoonery."
Like, imagine how different that movie would have been if they kept the actor from the original Batman. I forgot his name, but he played Lando Calrissian.
It's I've forgotten his name too, and I'm the big Star Wars fan.
Shun the non-believer.
Billy D. Williams.
Thank you. Imagine if they kept him as Two-Face.
I mean, it's still, there'd be a smoothness to him, obviously, but if we're going by the direction that Joel Schumacher did, I mean, it's likely to assume it probably would have ended up very similar.
Back to the Batman.
Robert Pattinson, as of yesterday, it was reported that he was diagnosed and is currently under quarantine. He is diagnosed with COVID-19.
Like,
And I mean, as if we already didn't have to wait long enough to get Batman started on production again. Now we just got to wait longer.
just a couple of weeks, we'll live.
Yeah. And then it's like, it's like we've been waiting since March to get it started filming again.
You know, I see a great irony in all this.
Hmm.
Patterson was in a movie about vampires. He plays the Batman, and he got a disease that originated from a bat.
Ironic.
Anyway, going on, still talking about DC here. Let's go ahead and talk about the Snyder Cut.
It's
Like-
happening.
It's happening. It's coming. We have a trailer for it, and we have new footage, some older footage, but new footage, and I'm excited.
Well, the main thing people are going to be talking about here is freaking Darkseid.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about his design in many ways. I mean, he looks similar to the comics, but there's definitely
I think
it's
he's
definitely
just,
different.
I think he's like, it's kind of like Thanos in Infinity War. He's just not wearing all of his armor.
Probably.
Right.
But at that same time, I'm just looking at him like he looks off.
Like, we still have a year until it's released, so
Yeah, we still have a little over a year
so
before it's released.
they're gonna polish it up. They're gonna make him look pretty.
Yeah. They're gonna make him look all nice and shiny, or not really all that shiny. Then he'd look terrible, unless he's in a rain or something. Anyway, but yeah, and the one thing I have to keep in mind, I thought it was the other way around when I was talking about Superman's suit and everything, where it was originally the black suit and then they used CGI to create it into the color suit. No, it was a colored suit the whole way through production. And what they've done is they've gone through with visual effects and they've turned it into the black suit.
Still kind of impressive, though.
Yeah.
Not as impressive being turning black into colors, but
It's still one of those things where I look at it, I'm like, how?
Right.
That is a shit ton of 3D tracking they would have had to do. And
yet they couldn't fix Henry Cavill's lips.
I mean, they fixed it now in the
Right.
sense of they're not using that footage.
Right.
In fact, all the reshoot footage that was done for the theatrical version not going to be included in this. Not a single bit. It's like
I was expecting as much.
not a single bit of footage that was shot for the theatrical version for the reshoots is going to be included in this. Not even a single frame. Just because they wanted it to be Zack Snyder's version.
Right.
And it's theorized that a good 60%, if not about 45-50% of the theatrical version of Justice League was Joss Whedon.
Right.
Was Joss Whedon footage. And honestly, I can see it.
Especially with some of the jokes, like that one joke with the old woman on the news saying aliens took her husband.
I mean, that was kind of funny, I thought.
Right, but that was definitely a Joss Whedon kind of.
That was a very Joss Whedon thing. Same thing with like the brunch thing. I'm not sure if that was a reshoot or if that was an actual thing that was left in from Snyder's version. I guess we'll have to see when it comes out. It feels like something that was left in from Snyder's version because the footage matches up very well with Snyder's version. But at that same time, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this feels very Whedon-esque. The brunch dialogue. And then they bring it back at the end credits when Superman and the Flash have that race. Which, that's a very, like, That's actually a end credit scene I actually really like.
Yeah,
Because it ties back into the comics and everything.
right.
Yeah. But yeah, going from the theatrical version into the Snyder cut and everything, and I'm like, I was always a proponent of thinking that the Snyder cut always did exist in some way, shape, or form, because the original runtime for the movie was going to be 2 hours 45 minutes.
Right.
And now with the Snyder cut releasing, what they're doing for it is they're releasing it as a 4-part miniseries, and
Really?
each part is going to be an hour long.
Oh my! So they're adding even more to it.
They had over 4 hours of film, and the original theatrical cut was going to be 2 hours 45 minutes.
It sounds really awesome.
Yeah. And with the amount of footage that they shot and everything and what they're going to be doing with it, I'm excited to see where they put it in that direction, because I'm always a proponent. I mean, I always will say that the theatrical version does have its place, especially for in terms of historical purposes. We always need that theatrical version for historical purposes, but I will always be a proponent of having a director's cut and having their full vision shown. It's why I'm not such a huge like basher on the special editions of Star Wars,
Right.
which, it's like I believe an artist should be able to go back and tweak his films and do the versions that he wants to do, but I also feel that the theatrical version should be up to the same level of quality in terms of image and sound and all that sort of stuff.
Definitely that way all like levels out.
It's like it levels out, and that way people have an option. Anyway, continuing forward, going from the Snyder cut. Let's see. We have now an official release date for The Mandalorian Season 2, starting October 30th.
Just the day before Halloween.
Day before Halloween. I mean, obviously, I'm massively excited. Not only as a big Star Wars fan, but also just absolutely loving Mandalorian Season 1. I'm definitely excited to see where they go with the direction for Season 2.
Right. I feel like a lot of people unsubscribed to Disney Plus when the show ended. Now I feel like people are gonna resubscribe again
Oh
to the
yeah.
show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like the October to December months, I feel like Disney Plus subscriptions are gonna increase dramatically.
Oh yeah, they're gonna like skyrocket again. Definitely. I mean, the Disney Plus has been around for about a year now, a little less than a year. And like the subscriptions are going to absolutely skyrocket. They're going to like probably triple when Mandalorian Season 2 releases. And give me 1 second here. I got my little buddy who will definitely be watching it with me. What are you looking at? They have so many things that's coming to this new season. Probably two aspects of it that I'm incredibly excited for is the 2 new directors that they have on for season 2. Obviously, they got on Peyton Reed, who did the Ant-Man movies,
Right.
and then obviously you got Robert frickin' Rodriguez directing.
Like Robert Rodriguez in Star Wars. Never in my lifetime have I ever guessed that it would happen.
And it has, and I think it's going to be the greatest combination of things ever to have been put on a small screen. And I think I'll die happy now with the fact that I would be seeing Robert Rodriguez directing Star Wars.
Yeah, October is going to be a great month to look forward to in general. Not only do we got The Mandalorian coming back, but we also got Primal returning as well.
Primal, really?
Yep. The second half of the first season will be airing.
Oh yeah, the Gendy Tartakovsky, yeah.
Yep.
Gendy Tartakovsky's animated show, which it's been renewed for a second season, I think you said. Yeah.
Yep, 2021.
Nice. Going from The Mandalorian season 2. Let's see. Let's talk about some of the stuff that we have coming up as far as like our videos that we're trying to do.
Right?
So for a while now, we've been trying to make the Predator review, and I was about a good 3/4 of the way of filming before my camera fully up and died on me. Like not even the battery will work anymore, and it's a tragedy, and it's that camera has been with me through thick and thin, and I love that camera, but I'm not sure if I should finish filming with like my cell phone or something, but it's like but yeah, The Predator, which is the 2018 film. Oh man.
Christ on a stick. That
Yeah.
movie, like, it also, like, if you want to get class on how not to write a film, look at it.
Yeah.
Take a look at that. We also got more coming up. Some big reviews, some small, like big movies, some small lesser movies. Including Rise of Skywalker.
Yep. Here, I actually have the full list of movie reviews that we have coming up. So, after The Predator, we have Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, which is it's not god awful, but it's such a pain.
It's the first time I've been in a movie theater and I just sit down and I go,
Why? Just
like,
why?
there's so many dumb decisions with that movie.
Yeah.
Like, and I honestly feel bad for the actors because this is the
Especially-
material they're stuck with.
Especially John Boyega. Like that man deserved so much better in
Right.
terms of how they treated Finn.
Right. Not only that, but Daisy Ridley as well, because she's gonna have the stigma on her after the trilogy, since fans hate it. It's gonna be kind of like Hayden Christensen all over again in a way.
Yeah, which is really sad because she's a fantastic actress. She's a fantastic actress. If you've seen her in stuff like the one big movie she did while she was doing Star Wars was also Murder on the Orient Express. She was a small supporting role in that movie, but she's great. She's a great actress, and
she always gives it her all.
She is always giving it like 110% into a role, and like so far, even though if like the script or something is like not all that good and everything with some of the Star Wars stuff, like she's still giving like absolutely her all, which I think that's the thing I could say about the newer Star Wars movies in general. Like even if the writing isn't all there, the directing and the acting is all top notch. Like say what you will about like J.J. Abrams or something like that, you'll never find a bad performance in any one of his movies. Like he always directs his actors really, really well.
Well, except for Cloverfield, the monster in that can be a little bit sloppy sometimes.
But he didn't direct that movie. That was Matt Reeves.
Oh, well you just ruined my joke.
It's like Abrams, he only produced that movie. Yeah, it's like I think he was producing that while he was doing Lost. I think it was, either that or Alias. I can't remember.
Anyway, other
Uh,
movies we were looking at.
Next up, after The Rise of Skywalker, we have Piranha 2: The Spawning, James Cameron's directorial debut,
And the
which
sequel. Oh,
in many ways technically isn't even really his directorial debut because he shot maybe a total of 15% of the movie, and then he was kicked off of the set by the producer, who then took over the rest of directing. But due to a contractual obligation, they couldn't have a foreign director's name on the marquee, so they decided to keep James's name on there.
I'm surprised I didn't go with Alan Smith, to be honest.
I'm surprised too, because Alan Smithy was still very much a thing back when that movie came out. In fact, the name Alan Smithy wouldn't be retired until the early 2000s.
Um, it's funny because this is a sequel to the original Piranha, which was directed by Joe Dante.
Yeah.
It's like, it's funny to see, like, this is a B movies fan. Like if you love B movies, you're probably gonna get a fun kick out this.
Yeah. And supposedly he directed Piranha 2. One, it was sort of out of desperation because he needed to work and he needed to kind of have some form of directing under his belt, so that way he could go on to do the other stuff that he actually really wanted to do, which right after that he did The Terminator. So, you know, but it was one of those things where he also kind of did it as a favor to I think it was Roger Corman, because he started off his career with Corman and everything.
Right.
Yeah. After Piranha 2: The Spawning, we have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. The original from 1995. That movie is 25 years old as of June this year. Yeah. June 30th, 1995 was when that movie came out. It was 2 years away from being born. And I remember growing up watching that movie and I was like, yeah, Power Rangers.
Then you go back and look at it, you're like,
Wow, this is fucking stupid.
Well, at least the villain's plan was kind of dark.
Yeah, it's kind of dark and everything. I love Ivan Ooze, if anything, for the actor and just for some of the lines that he says in the movie.
Right.
All the years of torment that I've missed, the Black Plague, the Spanish Inquisition, the Brady Bunch reunion.
It never gets old.
I mean, that's just and to think that's the same guy who played Belloc from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Like, if I can say one thing, at least it's not the Turbo movie.
At least it's not Turbo, yeah. After that, we have probably one of the biggest turds ever made, Dragon Ball Evolution, which is tied as one of the 3 most hated movies I have ever seen. Next to, obviously, The Last Airbender and Fantastic.
Like, to quote Mr. Science Theater 3000 on the whole creative process behind Evolution, they just did not care.
Pretty much, yeah. You know what's weird? Like, really weird about that movie? Like, the guy who directed it, he directed The Final Destination. Like, the first one.
How?
I don't know. And I think what's even weirder is he's an Asian guy. I think it was. Yeah.
Well, I don't think you have to be Asian in order to like Dragon Ball. Like,
No, but it's like when you have an Asian director that's linked with Dragon Ball and everything, you think that most of the characters are going to be well represented by Asian casting and all that sort of stuff. And then it's just like, what the hell went wrong?
Well, technically, Goku's an alien, so
it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like what that even the writer for that movie publicly apologized for what went wrong with that.
Yeah, the pretty much the only reason why Fox made a movie is so they can hold on to the rights.
Yeah.
So
Next
they
up,
just
yeah. Oh, keep going.
they just did the bare minimum. Just like they even made a PSP tie-in game to it, and I kid you not, it's literally one of the Dragon Ball Budokai games, but with the characters from the movie.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, even Team 4 Star, like when they finished playing it, do you know what they did?
Hmm.
They drilled it to the wall.
I love that. All right, next up we have the Robert Zemeckis motion capture movie Beowulf.
Oh boy, do I have a lot to say about Beowulf. A little bit of backstory. During my English class, we watched the film adaptation so we could compare it to the original. And I kid you not, during a certain scene, even my teacher was like, "What?" Because
Why?
how dumb the movie deviates from the legend, which I don't mind if it make it interesting, but oh my god, so many dumb decisions, and the main character is such an asshole.
Yeah. And it's really weird because like they had this motion capture they were doing for the film and all that sort of stuff and everything, and I'm like, why not just make it live action? And just add CGI around them. You could do that. You could do a lot of that. But no, they just decided to do it all motion capture.
And it looks very weightless. Like
I think the only thing that made me truly question why did they do it in motion capture was when they had Angelina Jolie pop up and it looked exactly like Angelina Jolie. And then you're just questioning why didn't they just make this why didn't they just make it live actions just so that way they could just have Angelina Jolie on set.
right.
There's like one scene in particular where it's like all the guys are sort of like celebrating or like they're messing around and all that sort of
They're
stuff.
making noise to try to lure out the monster.
Yeah.
Try to lure out Grindel.
And like Beowulf is basically naked and everything,
And they do everything. Like it's so comedic how they try to censor him.
Like they try to censor. They specifically they do it once with like I think the ending shot with it is with the sword. Like just lands right in the middle of the screen and covers up his junk. And all I'm thinking throughout it is just like they're ripping off Austin Powers.
Okay, that's a joke we need to do for the review.
It's like, yeah, baby, yeah.
No, just play the full fight scene with his Johnson being censored. Exactly. What's next?
After that, we have the 1990s straight to video, I think it was, or straight to DVD, whatever it was, movie Laserhawk that we saw when we were in college. It had Mark Hamill in it and everything.
It's like a common thing with a lot of 90s sci-fi movies. Sometimes they'll shove in Mark Hamill for marquee value, even if he's barely in it. Like with the Guyver movie, which in that movie, he turns to a mutant caterpillar.
Yeah. Of course. After that, we have Mommy Dearest.
Oh my god.
Which is kind of ironic that my mom actually really likes that movie.
It's like the acting though in that movie, it's
it ranges from really okay to what the hell are you doing?
Wait. Hold on.
I know what's coming.
No wire hangers. I need that.
Oh, that movie's so dumb. And the thing is like there's so much they could have done really well with that movie, and then it just was a complete disaster.
Like it was supposed to be drama, but they market it as a dark comedy,
which it kind of is a dark comedy when you really think about it.
Well, when you realize it's about the real life story of how Joan
Yeah.
Crawford's daughter, like all of her testimonies about her mother's abusive behavior and all that,
and her alcoholism and all that. Yeah.
right?
Anyway, then we have Terminator Genesis. Easily the worst Terminator movie. Definitely the worst. And the fact that with that movie, the way that it basically boils down to it is by the end of the movie, the first two movies are completely erased, and all that happened in those previous two movies no longer exists. Now you're following two characters who are supposed to be Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor, and they are completely not even close to being the actors that they were from the first film. And Arnold, doing one of the only cool things in the movie, turns into a T-1000.
Like with Terminator, it's like they pretty much should just give up with it. Like there's not much they can do more with it.
Yeah, it's like Jurassic Park in a way. Like,
And with Jurassic Park, I can see like different plot points and like, but Terminator, like they keep trying to do the same thing. They keep trying to bring back Arnie. They keep trying to make the Terminators bigger and badder, like to a ludicrous degree.
mm-hmm.
And they keep trying to make retcons, and push back Judgment Day.
Yeah. And even when James Cameron came back to help sort of revitalize it with Terminator Dark Fate, I mean, it succeeded slightly, but it's still crap.
Right, like the opening alone really makes me mad.
It doesn't necessarily make me mad because, like, I'm mostly marveling at the technical prowess that the opening has. Like, the fact that I was seeing a young Edward Furlong and a young Linda Hamilton and all that sort of stuff, and with the effects themselves being that convincing, I was just like, holy shit.
All right, what's next?
Next, after Terminator Genesis, we have Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed.
Huh. I don't remember ending that one, but to be honest, not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that good, but it's not that bad either.
Honestly, considered a personal guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah, same here. Like, I remember watching it friggin' all the time when it was on like Cartoon Network and stuff.
Here's my statement on it. If Monsters Unleashed was the first movie, I think it would have got a more positive reception.
Probably, yeah. Let's see, what's next? After Scooby-Doo 2, then we have the amazing Will Smith and Kevin Kline comedy action film Wild Wild West.
What even is that movie like?
To put that movie in perspective, they decided to make that movie instead of Tim Burton's Superman Lives. Like, the main producer behind that movie decided to go with that instead of the Tim Burton Superman movie.
And while Wild West like flop at the box office,
Wild Wild West was a huge flop at the box office. It was the first huge flop for Barry Sonnenfeld as a director, as well as for Will Smith as a star. Like, that was his first huge bomb at the box office.
it's like when you look at the original TV show and compared to the movie,
It's completely different.
No, it's not even night and day. It's like
it's not even close. The main thing that it has in common with it is that it's set during that time period in the Wild West.
right.
That's it. And it's a literal, like, I like to call it an in-name only adaptation. Sort of like World War Z in a way. Like,
Or Gem.
or Gem in the Gem of the Holograms. And this is coming from someone who likes the World War Z movie. I think it's an okay zombie movie, although it has nothing to do with the book. Nothing. Absolutely nothing to do with the book, except for one character. One. After Wild Wild West, we have Freddy as FR07.
I'm gonna have fun with that. I am gonna have fun with that. It is one of the most insane like anime films out there, just because how much it shifts in tone throughout the film. Like we
Yeah.
go to medieval fantasy to Princess and the Frog to freaking 007
Yep,
within the first like 10-15 minutes.
of course. What else will we do?
Make
Make a
makes it-
confident and worthwhile movie that has one storyline.
Like there is technically one storyline, but it's not cohesive.
Yeah. And then finally, we have the Jamie Lee Curtis horror sci-fi film Virus.
Which I'm kind of excited to talk about because not a lot of people have actually seen it or heard of it.
I
Which
know for a fact that it got massively terrible ratings on like Rotten Tomatoes and pretty much everywhere else, and even Jamie Lee Curtis hates the movie. Probably the one conversation I heard that she did, I think this was during like an actors roundtable or something. I can't remember what it was, but she actually said that she used to play a game with some different actor friends that they would compare different movies they were in to see which one had the worst movie. And she would say Virus, and she would win.
To be honest, me and a lot of people in like the horror community, we don't. It's actually not that bad. Like it could use some work, use some ironing out, but it's not awful.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the visual effects. Jesus Christ, the visuals are phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's like it's one thing to kind of miss like movies from the 90s, early 2000s, like the high budget like horror films that use a lot of practical effects, the big budget ones like that, The Relic, Deep Rising, The Frighteners.
Yeah.
We don't see a lot of movies like those anymore nowadays.
Yeah, it makes me wish that we went back to more practical effects and all that sort of stuff. So
Right.
it's like one video I'm actually in development on is a top 10 behind the scenes documentaries. And I'm up to 9. I need one more. And one of them technically isn't a behind the scene. It technically isn't a behind the scenes documentary, but it's close enough.
It's like it's so good that it's pretty much I'm gonna count it anyway because it's that good.
Yeah, it's about the making of a movie, but in that sense, the movie never even got into full on production. Like they never even shot a single cell of film. Like that documentary is The Death of Superman Lives.
Like, isn't there like one about Thief and the Cobbler?
I believe there is a documentary about Thief and the Cobbler, but I can't remember what it's called. I know that there's also this one great documentary about Terry Gilliam's unfinished and never released Don Quixote movie that's called Lost in La Mancha, and Terry Gilliam just absolutely loses his mind in that. The original production was started in like 2000 or 2001 or something, and it originally was supposed to star Johnny Depp. And they were pretty much getting ready to do shooting and everything, and it just fell apart. Like it was a disaster.
That sounds rough.
Eventually Terry Gilliam finally was able to release his movie that had been in development hell for almost 2 decades. Is called I think it's called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. and that actually ended up starring Adam Driver. It came out in like 2019.
How was it?
I haven't seen it. I heard it was good. But when you consider that it's a movie that has been in development hell since the 80s, actually, like Terry Gilliam had been trying to get this thing off the ground since like the 1980s or the 1990s, I believe, after he did stuff like Brazil and the Monty Python films and everything. So
Right.
so it's astonishing that he was able to get it made in general. And I think that should just about wrap everything up for the most part. Any closing words for our audience here today?
Stay safe out there.
Yeah. Subscribe.
Register to vote. Wear a mask. Do taxes.
Do your taxes. Just do your taxes. Don't end up like it was Wesley Snipes.
Wait, he didn't do his taxes?
He went to jail for like tax evasion.
Oh my!
Like he was in prison for like 10 years for tax evasion.
Why have I
fact-
never heard of this?
In fact, his first film he did when he got back out was The Expendables 3. And they actually made a joke about him being in prison for tax evasion.
Oh my god!
It's like when they did the Chuck Norris joke in Expendables 2.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, I heard you got bitten by a cobra. Yeah, but after 2 weeks of excruciating pain, the cobra
died.
But yeah, all right. And that was the Movie Talk podcast. I've been Matthew Tangeman.
I've been Tyler Shewchuk.
And we will see you all in the next one. Have a good one.